Well, hi there. I'm Sandy Allnock here with this month's Create in Color segment for MFT. Very excited to bring you summertime. This cute little set called Hey Sunshine has a girl on a float in a pool, and she could also be in the ocean. I picked a bunch of colors to start doing my coloring with, and I'm going to show you how I made her poolside scene. I've got her stamped on my Copic friendly cardstock. Whatever your favorite is. I like Nina myself. And I'm going to create the side of the pool. Now you can make a round pool like she's got and just put a section of it. You could also do something more rectangular, whatever kind of pool you want. I'm going to use a couple different kinds of grays. And I'm starting with cool grays. I'm going to add some warm grays. And I'm just making kind of some lines around it. You know, the pools have little segments of the cement. And don't worry about drawing them really carefully and really specifically because nobody's going to be looking at that. They're going to be looking at the water. The water is the part that really makes this little thing sing. I am going to apologize because my camera kept sliding downward. It doesn't slide too far off the screen, but for some reason it decided after I got back from vacation that the whole stand was going to do weird things. So a little bit of it's off the bottom there, but not much. I decided to put the water in first just because I'm going to be coloring her and I want to have some general frame of reference for what kind of color is going to be surrounding the image. And you can choose to do your water afterward. Absolutely. You don't have to do it in this order, but it kind of helps me to get an overall sense if I have some color everywhere. Because since this is going to be a super sunlit, bright kind of an image, it's going to be important to make sure that I don't either too much blow out the colors or make them all too dark one way or the other. And I will tell you right now, you'll see at the end, my video camera tends to lighten things up a little bit. It brightens them. So the colors that you're seeing on the screen are going to be darker when they're on the actual card. I'm seeing them in reality in my world, but here on the video screen, they're just a little bit brighter because the camera bounces on the white paper and does things to it. So there you go. But the color numbers are accurate for what I'm doing here. I like to use a BV01 or something really strong for my shadows on skin. You might, if you have not done this before, go with something less, like a BV00, 000 is often as much as most people can stand. I'm okay with it. I know where it's going to go because when I go over it with the mid-tone color like this, it turns it into just a really nice neutral shadow, very natural looking one, as opposed to trying to make something that looks all browns. I mean, that's what a lot of people use is brown colors, and browns are fine, but I like something that looks a little bit more natural, even though I'm coloring a cartoon. I'm not sure why natural matters, right? But there you go. I decided to give her a really punchy color for her float that she's going to be on, something really strong. That's going to change, however, the colors that are on her skin. So I'm going to have to go back in and add some punch to it. And I've got that in comparison to the water as well. So all of this, as I'm working, I'm trying to keep an eye on things in general. Decided she was going to need some glasses. And whether these are like those little pool glasses or just very cool horizontal sunglasses, I just thought she needed a little something to block her eyes out since she's got the sun directly overhead. And when the sun is directly overhead like this, with the kind of view that we're getting, you're going to put your shadows on the left and right side pretty equally because the noontime sun is directly overhead. So her legs have the highlight on the very top in the center. Each one of these sections of the pool float, everything's going to have the highlight in the middle. So you're going to put the shadows on the outside. And I'm using one of my favorite combinations for reds, which is an R89, an R37, and then whatever other red, because the R89 and the R37, they just work so nicely together to create some real strong depth. And again, R89 for some people is just too frightening. It's a really deep, dark red, but I encourage you to try it sometime. It's just paper. If you don't like it, you can change your mind and go color it again with something else. But I really love the strong, strong contrast that you get with that dark red. Blending that out with the R37 to give it a little, kind of subtle rounding on the outside of the float. And then go over the top with the base color, whatever base color you used. I'm using the R05. And that way I've got this kind of round shapes on each one of those little sections. I'll add some white highlights later to make it look more plastic as well. For her, I'm going to make a yellow outfit, I decided, and I like I said, to use strong colors. So I got a V04 for the shadow, and then I'm going over it with a Y17. Started trying to blend it then with the Y04 again. Wasn't really thrilled with that. It just kept looking like a sour color to her outfit, so I just went over with a real quick stroke with the Y17, which kept all that purple underneath as the shadow color, and she has some roundness, but also gave it that richness of color. And again, she was starting to look pale. Even after all that color, the BV01 that may have frightened everybody earlier, I needed to go over it one more time with that E53 to darken her skin. And everything on any kind of image, any kind of painting or drawing or anything that you do, you want to look at the overall effect. And I'm really conscious of what everything else is looking like, so that if her skin needs to be darkened, I can do that, because colors will pale or brighten depending on what they're next to. With the ball, I'm picturing in my mind where the shadows are going to be around that right-hand side, kind of in a C shape, but I have to do each section separately and try to make them join so it all looks like one round ball. Alternatively, you could just use a gray and shadow the whole thing at the same time, but I decided to use the different colors since I already had them out. Now here's the magic of the water, at least the beginning of the magic of the water. I'll go a little bit slower here at the beginning and then speed up because it's a whole lot of repetitiveness. But with water, there's all these really interesting shapes. If you Google swimming pool water, or swimming pool overhead view or something, which is what I did to kind of refresh my memory on what this was going to look like, you'll get lots of pictures of what the surface of water looks like, what all these shapes look like. I'm not getting super fussy and trying to make sure I'm mimicking exactly what I've seen on Google, but I just want these kind of flowy shapes, and it doesn't matter if they're super perfectly well drawn or anything, but I've got some color underneath. That first layer of color went from the B00 in the lighter areas and kind of got darker as it got to the middle of the pool. And each area that I'm coloring, I'm going to go 1 or 2 shades darker over top of it, because that's going to give me the lighter color showing through in that little line work, but it's also going to give me a little richer color and a variance across the whole thing. You're not going to see the same color on the whole pool, especially because you're going to have shadows under the girl and under the ball, because she's going to block out the sun as it hits the bottom of the pool. So as I get up into that darker area, I'm going to go with a darker blue. And whatever blues you use, you're going to have to decide which darker blues are going to work the best for you, for your particular image. And for me, I'm just playing as I go with this, and just doing a few sections here and there in some of the darker colors so I get that variance without trying to make it all look absolutely perfect, because perfect is not what water does. Water just keeps moving. So here I wanted to add some darker color underneath of the ball, so I grabbed some darker markers. Gonna do the same thing right underneath the girl, and putting some of that darker color right under her, and then blending it out a little bit with some of the medium tone colors so that it's not just a harsh line there. And now I'm going to add in a little bit of those white highlights on the top centers or the highest portions of each one of these plastic pieces, because they're the ones that are going to be up highest, closest to the sun. And then, of course, adding a little bit of decor onto her bathing suit. And if I make it at sort of a rounded lines rather than perfectly straight, it's going to help to increase the dimension around her body to make it look like she's got a shape to her. And she's got kind of really simple, roundish shape being a little girl. And I just dropped a little highlight onto her glasses. So this is a really fun card. These colors on the screen are a little more accurate to what I ended up with, rather than the bright colors that the videotape tends to capture, but you still get the same idea. It's a whole lot of fun to color a swimming pool card like this. Hope you'll try it sometime and tag me over on Instagram. I'd love to see what you're making. And I'll see you guys again next month. Bye-bye.